It is 6 p.m. I will now call the September 10th, 2024 regular meeting of the Wenatchee School District School Board to order. If you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Esta junta se lleva a cabo en inglés, pero contamos con servicio de traducción. Si alguien gusta hacer un comentario público o recibir explicaciones en español, por favor, indique su necesidad. We will now work through the agenda. Are there any proposed changes or modifications to the agenda? Seeing none, we will start with the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda were sent to the board and posted online last week. The board's had an opportunity to review the material and individually ask the superintendent any questions on any item on the agenda. The consent agenda this week includes the minutes from the August 19th, 2024 special meeting, the August 27th, 2024 regular meeting, vouchers and payroll, personnel report, surplus report, and contracts. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I moved to approve the consent agenda as listed.
I second the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Been moved by Tucker, seconded by Martin. Is there any discussion?
I do, actually. A little bit unconventionally at this time, but I want to put a spotlight on the contract section and add some public explanation. And I'm going to go back with two things that the board does right at the beginning. The board approves the budget, which is recommended by district staff, and then the board hires the superintendent to whom they delegate executive authority and responsibility to implement the budget, which requires a lot of predictable and expected contracts. Even though that authority is delegated, we still have a system where the board has to approve every contract, big or small, every voucher, and all personnel changes as well, which seems a little strange in a way, but that's what we do. So that's where it fits in the consent agenda. And most contracts are routine, so they get put in the bundle on the consent agenda. But as the president described, every board member gets to read the detail and has the opportunity to intervene to the superintendent and or ask for an explanation. So governance is done. Some very big or important contracts get moved out of the consent agenda so they can be action items and receive full public discussion and a vote separately. And sometimes there are recommendations that go to the superintendent to rework or renegotiate a contract or review whether the whole thing is justified. I wanted to quickly talk about today's contract because they're really very good examples about partnership and partnership that we don't often notice. Career paths for paraprofessionals so that they can gain higher professional qualifications and pursue their careers further. One of the contracts is with Eastern Washington University, and that's a key objective from a point of view of diversity, role models for students, and frankly, because that's what a high-class employer does, it gives opportunities. And so that's one of the contracts. And I offer my respect to everybody who, while working, proceeds to educate themselves further and further their career, because it's not easy, and I know it's done. But that's an important thing that people put a lot of work into in the district. Apprenticeship. There's a somewhat of a revision modification for $159,000 apprenticeship contract from the Employment Security Division. And I can't remember how many other schools are involved in this, but precious, precious few. And this is career and technical education. We've had students who completed apprenticeship and now are employing. And this is the kind of contract that comes in to strengthen this district. So that's another kind of contract, and it's another kind of partnership. And from the Skills Center, who are giving a presentation today, they've got $10,000 for industrial video equipment to train people in their Skills Center on filmmaking. Going to another area, there's a contract or mutual agreement with Big Bend College, similar to what we already have with Wenatchee Valley College, so that there's dual credit opportunities for students in another institution. And just as a minor way, there's this data sharing agreement to make things confidential with all of the state universities, except I think UW's core campus. And that's to enable students from Wenatchee to be eligible for the guaranteed admissions program. So that's another kind of partnership. And then I want to say sometimes celebration is justified. We talk about budgets and managing money, and we got a graduation contract for West Side to have their graduation in the Town Toyota Center. If you've ever been to West Side's graduation, when the wind howls around the corner and the rain comes in and the balloons get blown away and the speakers don't work, when you think about that celebration, and it saves a bit of money because you don't have to rental equipment, that's a really worthwhile celebration for whole families after the many years of work of their students. So I just want to say, when we just blaze through the contracts, sometimes they're money, but oftentimes they're partnerships, and they're kind of the bone and muscle that keeps this organization running. I just thought it was a good idea for us to know what's going on there.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Maria. And for the record, Miranda is excused absence tonight. Moving on then. We will now move on to citizen comment. If any member of the public would like to make a citizen comment, please sign up online 15 minutes before the meeting or in person. Paper forms are available at the entrance to the meeting room and can be completed and given to the board secretary, Kim White. Unless translation is required, each comment is limited to 3 minutes, and Ms. White will keep a timer to let you know when your time expires. If you need translation services from Spanish to English, we will make a certified translator available, and individuals will be given 4 minutes to make a comment. Please be aware that the board is not obligated to respond to questions or challenges made during the public comment, and the board's silence will not signal agreement or endorsement of the speaker's remarks. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, first off is Stephanie Malloy.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to address the board tonight. My name is Stephanie Malloy, and I'm addressing you as a union member and an employee of Wenatchee School District. As I am all of the above things, I come as an individual, and what I'm about to say is my opinion and my comments alone. As you see, there are a lot of blue supporting tonight, and I want to thank my fellow union members for showing up. I'm going to briefly talk about the budget and wages for staff that are employed by this district. Through no fault of our own, we as staff are and have been affected by the district's mismanagement of the budget. We are short-staffed and overstretched with increased job duties. Many of our members were required to work through the COVID pandemic because they were essential workers. We as workers have carried and continue to carry the physical shortfalls of the district, and now they are asking us to carry the administrative financial failures. In the budget, there are some administration, teaching, and classified positions dissolved to help balance the budget. Some of those jobs were reconfigured and given a new job title, which resulted in rehiring those individuals without skipping a beat. I am not an advocate for jobs lost, but I am an advocate for those who are left to have fair wages so they may survive financially and support their families. I'm going to talk to you about some numbers that are affecting my coworkers and I. In the last year, food has increased 2.2%. Inflation has increased 3%. Goods and services has increased 3.1%. The average cost of rent for our members is $2,000 a month. The dollar has lost 2.75% in purchasing power in the last year. We as district employees are behind in wages and are unable to make our financial obligations. Many of the full-time workers are having to have 2 or 3 additional jobs in order to make ends meet financially. I'm here to say tonight that this is unacceptable. We need comparable and fair wages. I'm almost done. We have had members who have been homeless, and some of my coworkers can't pay their medical co-pays and patient responsibilities. We have workers who have struggled every month to figure out how they're going to feed their families. We have members who work injured with bad backs, bad shoulders, knees, and hips because we can't afford not to work. These are workers who have been injured working for the district. These very workers are given their sweat and tears and time for the
That's your
district.
time, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jake Quilter.
Thanks, Steph. No, that was short. I'm going to go a little quicker because I know my time is not long. So, good evening. My name is Jake Quilter. I'm glad for the chance today to address the board and want to share a little bit of history, insight, and some experience. I've been here for over 25 years. In that time, working for the district, I've changed jobs from a custodian, warehouse, a lot of history there. I've been a union representative for a majority of that time, 23 of the 24 full-time years. Our district has done some things right, and they've done a lot of things poorly. More recently, there's been a lot more poorly. That's affected us as maintenance and staff who are here to provide all the safety, security, and comfort for our district and people. We worked through the pandemic. We were essential employees. We worked for nearly 7 years without an increase from the state because our governor froze salary increases for that 7 years. Then we had bargained a contract, which the district started to come closer to helping us recover. But that has not been the case in the last couple of years. At this point, we've been told we have a budget crunch, which we do. We very much do. But we are the ones with our backs and our strength who have carried that load and increased duties with greatly decreased staffing without without much compensation and increase to carry the load. I just found out today as I was reviewing numbers that while last year I received a 2.1% increase, a cost of living, because the way our contract reads, I didn't get 3.7. A lot of our members, none of us did in maintenance and operations. Like 2.1%. I lost money. I made less money this year and I worked the same amount of hours or more. And this year I'm going to make even less. It's disheartening after 24 years of blood, sweat, tears, and serving this district. I'm one of those that has injuries from doing the jobs that we do that are hard labor tasks. We're told we don't have money, but last year I see that our administrators averaged 7 to 15% increase. I had 2.1. I made a lot less money last year. That hurts. That's not us having value, like Corey tells us we do. We feel pretty low right now. Morale is non-existent. And that is a responsibility that the board can do something about, in spite of the challenges we have. We find money for all kinds of other things. How about supporting the people who make things happen every day?
Thank you. That is all we have for public comment. We'll, unless there's any online, move on then to our special presentations.
Okay. Okay, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Tonight we have a very special presentation from the director of the Wenatchee Valley Technical Skills Center, Pete Jelsing. He is here to share with us the plans for some grant dollars that the state afforded the Wenatchee Valley Technical Skills Center for some upgrades. So he's going to tell us all about that. And we should have a clicker for you up there, Pete.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Again, thank you. All you guys do. Thank you. Okay, hey, name is Pete Jelsing, director at Wenatchee Valley Technical Skills Center. This has been definitely a work in project. It has taken a long time, and I've now been out there since 13, so 12 years since our last remodel, last project. And ever since the last one, we had some unfinished items that we did not get done. And part of this grant, which I'll go through, will kind of show you how we got it done over the last 10, 12 years, okay? Yes, it is a celebration. Because I've been telling a lot of people for many years, yep, it's coming. We're going to get it. We're going to be able to remodel get this program put in, do some moving around, and not work so hard to maintain some of the facility stuff that we've had to do over the last, like I said, 10 or even longer years. But the thing is, it is, and then I've realized, it's just kind of the start. All of a sudden, there's a lot more that has to happen, once you get granted those dollars. As Corey, myself, Mike, and many others, Sean, it's not here. There's a long process to get there. But what I wanted to share is, yes, it is $14.5 million. It's not out of the school district dollars. It's not levy or bond dollars. It's specifically a grant that the state every 2 years, when we got it this past year, it was kind of an anomaly because it doesn't happen in a short session. There just happened to be some additional dollars through capital gains a couple of years ago that were assessed to everybody. And those dollars got to go to school, education, and that type of thing. So they were able to pull this off. Again, how this works is it really depends. I mean, through the years, it's been a very different process. About 5 years ago, we came together as directors of skill centers and said, hey, we need to try to do something that was equitable, because before this, what was happening was if you had the representative, you're in a bigger location, and or you had superintendents fighting for these dollars, projects tended to go that direction. But about 5, 6 years ago, we came together as directors and said, hey, let's make it more equitable. Basically, what happened was, well, the start before, we've always been doing a 10-year long range plan. And that plan really goes through what are the needs in our building, but not just in our building, but what are the needs in our community, our state, and around the country. Because again, we are trades. That is what we do. We are trying to place not just into universities, but trade schools and ultimately into jobs after they graduate. So for us, we get to look at a lot of different things. The state asks us, hey, every 2 years, resubmit a good sized plan that says, what are your needs? What direction do you want to go? Every year we submit it. It's broken down into major and minor projects. Anything minor projects are handed out pretty regularly, but it's $1 million or less. Those are small projects that you can get done, maybe equipment that needs to be done as well. Major projects are $5 million or more. How do we get through this 10-year long program that's planned? We go through, we listen to our districts, because again, for us as a tech center, it's not just Wenatchee. We serve 9 total school districts, 11 high schools. Okay, so they all get to come to us. Every district has a little bit different need. Every district has different CTE courses that they offer. So we are always planning, talking specifically with the Wenatchee High School, Jake, and then over in Eastmont. What are you offering that we could offer, support, or something that is different and new? We then look at local needs, industries. You know, what our needs are not going to be what maybe Everett, Spokane, what their needs are. We go through that. But we also look at state and national trends. Where are the dollars and what would fit into what we're doing at the Tech Center? Student input is big. You know, I learned that pretty early. We tried a program that had the word, I hate to say it, biology. And for a lot of kids, they didn't want to leave their high school to go take that at the Tech Center. Probably could have done a few other things, but it is important to know that we are not just meeting the needs of all these other things, but we're getting student input. And so that goes into our conversations. Work with maintenance operations regarding building needs, because we also know, as I'm finding out now, if we have the opportunity to upgrade things during this grant, then we're going to do that instead of continuously replacing parts, equipment that are outdated. So those are things that I'm always talking with Brian about, and also his crew, obviously. And then one of the most important pieces, well, maybe not the most important, but for me is working with somebody who understands how to put this plan together. How do we get these numbers? How do we actually say, this is what we need? What is the state really looking for? So we put it all together, and we use usually architect, engineer, that we contract out. Again, I was talking about the ranking of the plans. So every tech center submits. We've been doing that again for a very long time. Projects are ranked. This is what we decided about, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago. Ultimately, what happened was a third party comes in, goes through our building, looks to see what our needs are. They go through and look at our numbers, our square footage, our programs, and they will go through with equations, yada, yada, and say, yeah, there is a need. We get to that point. So we get ranked. It was 1 through, and again, it's not just skill centers, but their satellite programs all the way down. I think there's 17 of them that get ranked. But as we've talked about, dollars are not always there. The biggest thing that we see is every 2 years, depending, the legislation or a state may have extra dollars to be able to spend. And sometimes it's not. It's not a line item on the budget. So it really goes back to talking with our legislators, our representatives, and saying, hey, there's a need, there's a rank, and this is what you can do to help us out. A lot of different factors that go into how and the when we get these grants. The ultimate piece is we got this one, which is amazing. So let's talk about what we're doing. Phase 1 for this project is completing our upstairs B. So in our last project, building B got a complete remodel. We had put an upper floor into building B. It has not been usable. It is sat there vacant. Need an elevator, need a evacuation, building B, improve the mezzanine. That is the first part. Going into 1 and 2. Phase 3A and 3B is our fire science. So fire science is going to get a big facelift. Okay. And that's a great one because those numbers have blown up and space is limited for them. Just to kind of give you a picture, this is going back to the first 1 and 2 phases. Again, if you're familiar with the building, we'll have stairs going upstairs, up and down, elevator, and then exit on the outside. And then upstairs, once you get there, it'll be this area.
They can't hear you up there.
Oh.
YouTube.
Oh, it does. Gosh, all this technology here, sorry. Is it the button? Or is that power? Okay, well, I'll just point from here. Look at this. We've got multiple buildings going in. We'll be putting in that engineering and STEM. We're really looking at working with engineering, but going with more of a electrical HVAC program, and then moving one of our current programs upstairs as well, providing room downstairs for another program. And that's our entrepreneurship. We'll have a lab space up above, and then bathrooms and mechanical next to it for that space. Fire science, this was 3A and 3B, well, 3A. You can see part of it, culinary, will get divided, and I'll show you that in one of the next slides. They will have a classroom for just demonstrations, and then we'll split fire science. They'll move to the front of where they're currently at. Really want to, but it's right there. And then for a 3B, they open up, and this will be actually an addition to. So it'll be really nice. We currently, where that fire truck is, the pump truck, it is currently where the fire science classroom is. And that's where they actually also do all of their bookwork and work. So boom, moving that out. And they'll have a whole existing bay for a fire truck. But then on top of that, we will have stairs so they can do pull hose and that type of thing. A lot of good stuff there. Moving on, phase 4. This is also building A, culinary classroom, which we'll see in a second. Expand our entryway and office area. So when we take a look at this is going to be pretty exciting because we'll be adding a conference space, okay, that will be tagged right into our culinary arts. So culinary arts, which has been doing a lot of great things. They will have a cafe, and then they will actually serve, and we'll have an actual space right now for conferences. Because we get a lot of different industries that come and use our big multi-purpose room, but that's not very conducive to speaking, heating and cooling. So for us, this will be great. Culinary will get a little bit of a makeover because they've got some outdated equipment. We want to take care of that. And then the office area, we've got a lot of different colored carpets. Beautiful. We love it. Ripping up. That's going to be redone. And as you can see, a lot of big changes. You can see where our student lounge, where we currently have, will be updated as well. Does that work? But it's a great project. Super excited, and it's been a learning process every step of the way. Corey and Sean have been super helpful. Brian has also gave some great input, and the fun's just starting. Any questions?
Just one. When is this going to be completed?
Yeah. So that was some of the emails we had with OSPI, just trying to understand what is our timeline. They don't really have a hard timeline, but our hope is we start in the spring, work our tails off through the summer, and then through next school year, maybe in the summer. We all know construction. We would love it to be ready by fall of 26, 27, I think, right there. Yeah. Exciting. Yeah, our staff is as well.
Do the students get to work on the skill center? Like, is that part of the project, is being as part of the project?
If I can cut some of those dollars, we'll do it. No, I think what they will do, because we've done that with the PUD. We worked with a general contractor with PUD, and they got to go through all the different phases. They might be able to, if we can get it cleared, do help with demolition and that type of thing. But yeah, that's it. We'll work on it. We always try to find ways to get the kids in there. That'd be fun. Yeah.
One more question. So these funds are actually committed for the project. So we have 14.5 million. It's not recallable or anything. We're not going to have to scale based on the government deciding they're not going to fund it all.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say that. Okay, but yeah, no, it is set. It is set. That is ours. It's already been added to the budget. We got the actual, they send a letter signing the grant is ours. So yeah, gotcha. That scared me. You started saying that. Did you hear something? I was like, what? No.
Pete,
So much. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for defining the concept of the grant and the 14.5 million, and for making an emphasis that this is not coming out of BEA funds. It has no implications on the funding for our teachers, for our students, because as you know, we're all in it together, and we know with the budget cuts and reductions and all of that, there could be a serious misunderstanding of, hey, well, they don't have money to keep staff or classroom sizes, et cetera, but yet they're renovating or adding on to this building. So I appreciate that and Julie's question. That was my comment.
And I think the other piece, just, I mean, if I was just to add on, this is just something that on a year-to-year basis that, my staff have to take into consideration as well. Yes, maintenance comes in and they are definitely helping keep our stuff together. All the funds that truly go to, any of the mechanical, any of the parts, any of the equipment, that all comes through this, what we generate, through, our enrollment. There is some federal through Perkins that we do get, but for the most part, we do, because our host district is Wenatchee, our finances are taken care of, obviously. But whatever we pull in, it does go to the district to help support our building. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we have to continue to watch on our own, what are we doing at our building so that, again, we can, take care of all those projects. That's why these grants and things are super important. Anytime that we get the opportunity, we're trying to find some money and fundraising stuff. So yeah, thanks, Maria.
I just Pete, I just want to say thank you,
Yeah.
not only for your presentation tonight, but for the hard work that you've put in at the tech center. These, they don't just grant these grants to anybody. And I know that you've been working hard just on the 10-year plan process in your tenure there at the tech center. So thank you for that work. And we look forward to, we're beginning the request for qualifications process for project management, and that'll be the first leg of our journey. So thank you.
Love it. You can all get hard hats when we start.
That's right.
And Pete, thank you very much. And as a last minute thing, the skill center that you head up as director, that's a perfect example of how we depend on so many other institutions in the region and work together. And I think I suddenly thought that's kind of what I was saying with the contracts earlier on, that the school district and everybody, we're intertwined. We need to work together.
Martin, it's true. And I think it just goes beyond. I mean, obviously, community, everything is important. Skill center, because we are in every local district, it is that communication. Doesn't always work out, but it has. Overall, just communicating, working together, staying positive, and just get through. I know it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Pete.
Something.
Appreciate it. We'll transition really quick from Pete's presentation to our strategic plan presentation, and I'll grab the little clicker. All right. Thank you, Board of Directors, for the time tonight. Give you a second look at our strategic plan this evening. Tonight, we will go over a few things from the strategic plan that are specific to our Big Six data points. We'll be sharing some celebrations that were implemented last year, some areas where we want to grow this year, and we'll take a look at the student impact as well. So we also have some preliminary data to share with you this evening. So thanks, Liz. Okay, so as we get started here on the Big Six, as I shared with you, I like to think of our strategic plan as with the four-legged stool analogy. So leg one is our promise to our students that we see on our wall over there. Leg two is our priorities, the thriving environments, the opportunities, and the partnerships that we have in our district. Leg three is our core values, equity, accountability, and high-quality instruction. And then leg four is the Big Six that we'll be talking about tonight. And our strategic plan outlines the Big Six student learning outcomes that we plan to achieve over the next few years. The outcomes that we have, they're not super flashy, but they are impactful. And we know that they're steeped in the research that are what's best for our students. And then the Big Six support students' academic and social emotional success and career readiness. And we're committed to sharing our progress toward achieving the Big Six with you annually. Okay, we're going to jump in. Big Six data point number one, experiencing high quality instruction. Students receive and participate in grade level and beyond standards, instruction, and assignments. The success for this particular data point is development and implementation of instructional strategies through ongoing high-quality professional development and embedded supports. So these are those best practices in our classroom that are great for everyone, but they're essential for our multilingual learners. The grow in data point number 1 is that we see the essential strategies that are happening in our classroom each day and in every classroom. And that our learning walk process will help us see the outcomes of this work and the impact on our students. So that is a grow for us in the coming year. And the student impact here is that students will experience more culturally responsive instruction in a safe, engaging, and academically rigorous classroom. And so when that is embedded with our core academic instruction, the culturally responsive work will help us move the needle on the achievement gap. And then we'll jump into some data points that you'll see here. And so the measure of the work comes from our learning walks and our learning and teaching team. You might remember that we began tracking our learning walks in the 22-23 school year. And then last year we increased the statistical number of the walk data by adding our instructional leaders at the building level. And we are growing this work classroom by classroom each year with our own professional development and our district trainers. So the first number that you see there, or the first data set, you see, see if I can get it to work, Pete. Kind of working there, but you can see the first 2 data sets there. We have our baseline data is the 77.3. That was our first year of the strategic plan. And then the 87.2 is our data for the second year of the strategic plan. So 87.2% of students receive and participate in grade level or beyond standards and instruction, rigorous tasks, assignments, and or activities at the time of our walkthrough. And I mentioned at the time of our walkthrough because that may happen sometime in the classroom during the day that we weren't there for the walkthrough. These walkthroughs are fairly quick and fairly efficient. So sometimes we don't always see the things that we're looking for. And this work really supports our work around the 3-year journey with professional learning communities with Solution Tree and Janelle Keating and creating our guaranteed and viable curriculum. It is also strengthened through all of the incredible professional development that comes from our own system through our district trainers. The second data point there, you can see that it's 80.3% of teachers are using strategies intended to elicit 100% student engagement during the time of our walkthroughs. So these are a variety of strategies that can be used here. But what we really want to ensure is that students have a chance to talk amongst themselves, to add in their own thinking and processing time before they have a chance to respond. This really centers on our work around giving students opportunities to respond through engagement strategies. And then the final data point here, 77% of our teachers either noticed or adjusted when students were not engaged during the time of our walkthrough. And usually if you have, if we have number 2, which is we're working towards 100% engagement, there is no need to notice that students are off track or adjust at that time. So that's one point that we want to recognize here. But there are varying degrees of this work. What we often see is that there are students, if there are students off task or not engaged, a teacher can quickly re-engage without losing momentum or instructional time with a simple positive quick reminder or an adjustment that can happen. Not always, but sometimes. All right, number 2 of our big 6 data points, belonging and are connected. And so students know that they belong, they're seen, valued, and heard, and have healthy relationships with staff and peers. The success for this one is the Wenatchee School District applied for and received the Stronger Connections grant for 3 years, beginning in our 23-24 school year to the tune of $1.5 million. This was a major success for us because the first round of budget reductions where we were reducing contracts, one of the contracts that we had planned to reduce were giving us the staff social service specialists at the elementary level. We were able to bring them back due to this grant and address gaps in our community with regard to mental health services. Another success in this area comes from the amazing and numerous activities of our extracurriculars that we're able to offer as a district, from athletics to extracurricular activities. Let's see, district musicals, which I have a comment on our district musical later tonight in the superintendent's update. Some of our school clubs, Math is Cool, Girls on the Run, Strings, other district adventures as well. Together, these create the belonging and connectedness that leads to healthy and engaged students. The grow in this area is to continue to build district-wide culture of belonging in our schools with systems and structures to support student well-being and connectedness. And this is a continual desire in our district. Obviously, we want to have a culture of belonging. We do have great schools. We have positive cultural experiences in those buildings, but it's something that we can always strive to be better. And then the student impact, accessing building-wide support with our mental health resources and support that would have otherwise been reduced due to budget reductions. So this includes free access to telehealth services. We have been working with the community partners to ensure that our students have access to mental health services, as there have been large gaps in our local system since the pandemic. Okay, and some of the data here. So this data comes from our annual culture and climate survey of students in grades 4 through 12. So the first data point there is obviously we have our baseline data, and then we have year 2 data. So 71.5% of students in grade 4 through 12 feel there is an adult at school who will encourage them. We know that having supportive adults helps students know that they can take on social and academic risks with that support. The second data point there is close to 75% of our students in grades 4 through 12 feel that they are treated with respect. And all of our school communities need to have that mutual respect for one another. The third data point that we have, along with the baseline data, and the final point that we have for tonight here in this data point, is that 67% of students in grades 4 through 12 feel safe at school. And we want to make sure that we are raising that number because we want all students to feel safe at school. Safety is paramount. We want each child to feel safe throughout the day at school and continue to make strides in this area. And the last 2 data points are measures that come from the state. And so we'll be reporting on them a little bit later when our attendance and behavioral data from the state comes in, and I come back in later October to share those numbers. Okay, I'll get through the third read on grade level and then pause for a moment for some questions and comments that you might have along the way. Okay, and so for the third one, third data point is reading on grade level. Our students will read on grade level by 3rd grade and beyond, and will continue to grow their skills, knowledge, and abilities through their education. And our success here that we're sharing is common reading foundational skills assessments 3 times a year, as well as ongoing common comprehensive assessments. We know that the foundational skills are very important for our students, and this assessment cadence allows our teachers to respond in real time. And a grow here for reading on grade levels, continue to teaching structured reading and writing skills, as well as strategies for comprehension. Our system has had a great amount of success using structured reading strategies, and some of our students who are benefiting from that work are beginning to move on into the middle school. Student impact. Students receive appropriate intervention and extension support in real time based on their assessment data. Teachers adjusting their instruction based on student data. And we know that the better data that we have and the better data in the here and now helps those adjustments make a real impact there in student learning. And we have 2 data points out of the 4 to share with you here. And let's see, we have, you can see that we need to continue our work in this area. As you can see, our first data point there, 57% of 3rd grade students scoring at or above grade level on the spring overall overall reading iReady assessment. And then the second data point there is based on our Smarter Balance assessment data. And all we have right now are preliminary data scores. And so those will be finalized in the next few weeks. And so when we come back in October, we'll have those finalized scores to share with the board as well. And then the next data point you can see there is 47.6% of third through eighth grade students scoring at or above grade level on the spring overall reading iReady. So these numbers are only slight increases over last year's, but we know that we will see them improve over time. Okay, so we have made our way through half of the Big Six data points. I thought that I would pause for some questions, comments, or concerns that we can answer or bring back some of those answers at a later time for the board.
I have a question going back to measurement number 1.
Okay.
The experience high quality instruction. You mentioned that these classroom reviews are the primary, the learning walks are the primary source of measurement here, but is there any other form? Because it seems like it's a pretty short time span to get so much data. Are they doing like peer reviews of each other, or are there self-reports or anything else aside from these learning walks? And if we're only relying on the learning walks, how often are they repeated if we're not seeing conduct or behavior we can measure?
Great. So yeah, good question, Julie. The data for Big Six data point number 1 is entirely from the learning walks. And those are 10 to 15 minute walkthroughs where our learning and teaching team go into a classroom and they gauge what they see on the spot during that time. But there are a host of other things that are happening with regard to professional development and professional learning for our teachers that revolve around the evaluation process, as well as our professional development cadence put on by our learning and teaching team. So our growth in that instructional learning area is not just based on the learning walks, but the data point that you see here is. Yep. Good question.
And Corey, I have a very similar question. On the learning walks, what are you doing to make them objective and comparable from year to year? Because they are a visual observation by people who presumably are involved in the training. Have you got any intentional standardization to keep that as close as you can to being something uniform?
Absolutely. And it's a good question too. And it really comes through to what is our inter-rater reliability that we put into these learning walks. And so the process that takes place, everyone that is involved in a learning walk is trained in the learning walk tool. And there are some things that are a little bit more subjective when you actually use that learning walk tool. And so there's a debrief after we leave each classroom, and the team kind of works together and decides the outcomes of the learning walk. Yep. And then what the administrators do is they provide positive feedback to the teachers once the learning walk is done. Yep. Good question.
And I would guess there are two sides to that when you're using a technique like that. One is measuring and the other is using the experience to train and improve the teacher or any employee who's receiving that benefit.
Absolutely.
Are these walks done randomly, or are they pre-scheduled so you're getting a true glimpse of what a real-time classroom interaction is?
Great question. They are random walkthroughs. The time that the learning and teaching team comes into the building is known by the administrator. Good questions. Thank you.
I was going to go to the next one, the belong and are connected.
Yeah. Thanks.
So for the Stronger Connections grant, are we looking at renewing that or applying again so that after 26 we have an opportunity to get that grant again?
Heavens, yes. If it is offered again, we will definitely go out for that. I'm not sure Mike actually is doing a lot of the work with OSPI on the grant right now, and what they're asking us to do, which is great because there are school districts out there that have not completely exhausted their funds based on their plan. And so, and we fall into that category. We have some funds that we can use in different ways. And so OSPI is asking us and has asked Mike to re-envision how the funds are used based on some of those areas where we didn't exhaust all those resources. So we'll be able to not lose them. We'll be able to continue to use them to help support our students. Yeah. So good question. Thank you. All right. Maria, anything? She's good. Okay, we'll move on to big six data point number 4. Ready for algebra. Okay, so our students will be on grade level and beyond by 8th grade in algebra. And so this success point here, we're highlighting Foothills in this particular success point. They have doubled their AVID enrollment, which has significantly increased the diversity in their advanced classes, especially in math. And so that's we know that that is important. We also know that disproportionality work is important as well, and small wins such as this help to increase diversity in all of our classrooms. So we know that this goal is one that is about students being grade level and beyond in algebra, but we also want to make sure that if we do have some advanced classes, that we have a diverse amount of students that are involved in that as well. So we see that as a success area there. The GROW is strengthening tier 2 and 3 support in math through intentionally scheduled interventions, K-12. We have that as kind of a GROW area in our entire system and working through that. This is challenging work for administrators systemically to carve out time to create systemic pathways for this work. But we know it's the right work, and our overall student success is dependent on this work as well. So creating those intentional interventions. The student impact here is that students are prepared to master algebra standards and coursework as this data point reflects. We know that algebra can be a gatekeeper class, that if it's not mastered, it keeps students from accessing higher level math. And we want to make sure to avoid that. We want all those options for our students. So let's look at some data here. We have one data point that is not overly impressive in our growth here, but this is the data point we have as our baseline, and then our secondary piece. We have the one data point here to share. 39% of our students scoring at mid on grade level or above in our spring iReady assessment in math. The iReady assessment has many of the standards needed for student success in algebra. The other piece is that smarter balance data that will be a little bit lagging and coming a little bit later from the state there. Okay, 5, we have on track for graduation. Students are on track for graduation by the end of their freshman year and beyond. So we know here that our success, one of the successes we have here is a Wenatchee High School success that we're working through actually our system-wide, all 3 middle schools and both high schools. But Wenatchee High School has specifically strengthened their freshman Engage and Ignite programs to aid students and their families with the transition from middle to high school. And we know through research that the 9th grade year is that pivotal time in a student's academic career that determines much about their decisions in subsequent years. And our efforts to support that transition at the middle school level and in the 9th grade year is very important. So we're ramping up what those efforts look like at middle school, as well as we prepare our students and our families for that transition to 9th grade. The GROW here is leveraging special programs funding to provide intervention support in reading and math at the middle school. With the new schedules across all of our middle schools and also in our high school, there has been some intentional planning to support needed academic interventions. So this is an area for us to continue to grow in. And student impact. We know that our students are connected early in their academic career with involvement opportunities that keep them engaged with their learning. We know that our students are more likely to stay engaged and connected the more they're involved in athletics or activities that they are passionate about. And I don't have a lot of data to show you here because the final data will be coming from the state in October. This is a fairly simple measurement for us as the district, because the state tracks this one because it's part of the Washington State Improvement Frameworks. So we are waiting for this data to be compiled, but it'll be ready when we come back and show our data dashboard for you in October. The other thing to kind of think about as we look at this is we will be dealing with some of the concerns of changing changing the course that we play on at Wenatchee High School as well when we change the high school schedule as well. So there we may be watching this measurement very closely because we know that schedule change does impact graduation requirements and how schools are working through their graduation requirements. All right, number 6, you have made it to the final data point for tonight. Students are engaged in a continuum of learning experiences that creates awareness, exploration, preparation, and work experiences to be future ready. So our success here in Big 6 data point number 6 is the data center certification grant to build out our data center technician pathway for career and technical education. This grant allows us this year to truly build out a program prior to implementation of this pathway. And we know that from previous presentations that Ron Brown and Jake Buchholz are deeply committed to this work and are taking this year seriously so they can roll out this pathway and have it be successful for our students. And we know what the grow area is to continue to find partners to participate in activities on the career connected learning spectrum. And I would say that this is both a celebration and a grow, as you'll see in the data, because we have worked, I won't say we, but the Career and Technical Education Department and team has worked tirelessly to build those partnerships. But we can always do more, and we can always use more opportunities for our students. These are difficult to create when you think of internships and on-the-job training and work experience and more. But once we do create them, they are solid partnerships moving forward. The student impact here is students are exposed to a variety of CTE pathways, starting in middle school and continuing on through high school at Wenatchee High School, Westside High School, and the Wenatchee Valley Technical Skills Center. And so we do have some data to share with you. We have the comprehensive data here, and you also will remember back to our April workshop where Jake spent an hour and a half with us talking about CTE programs. So some of the things you'll see come to fruition here in the data. So 93.6% of K-6 students attended the science field experience. We have developed and support a very robust field experience program in the K-6 world that includes an activity at each grade level, coupled with classroom curriculum and science kits. And I have 2 nieces and a nephew in 3rd grade, and it is all about salmon. They are excited right now. And so that, yeah. And then you can see here in the second data point, 88.6% of 7 through 12 students were enrolled in a CTE course. So this is the sheer number of students enrolled in CTE through their time in the secondary grades of 7 through 12. And then, make sure I was seeing this correctly, 96.8 of our 7th and 8th grade students attending a CTE field experience. So these are the numbers of students involved in CTE field experiences from the data that Jake shared with us. Last year, the data that he shared with us is that there were 4,132 career-connected experiences that middle schoolers got to experience, and 2,988 at the high school level, if you remember that April workshop. So it kind of falls in line with this percentage number here. And then let's see, the fourth data point here, 50% of 9 through 12th graders participating in those items I just mentioned, the job shadows, the internships, the career launches, the apprenticeships, and the worksite learning. These are those experiences that we're constantly working to try to grow. And as I mentioned, they are difficult to create and nurture, but once they get started, they have huge outcomes for students. One that I'm particularly excited about when I learned about it this summer is an energy conservation summer program where students engaged in summer work to find ways to create energy savings for companies and corporations on a grand scale to save money and energy. These are the same companies that are working through the energy efficient standards that we are as a district as well. So we have students that are working and engaging in that. Let's see the final data point here, 52.7% of 9 through 12th grade students earning an industry recognized certificate. So many programs have industry standards that students can work toward, and then there are certificates of achievement in those standards that students can add to their resumes and bring to the world of work with them. So we also know from Jake's presentation in April that there are 68 courses that have industry certifications and 23 courses that are articulated with other colleges to earn credit while they're attending high school courses. Lots of numbers, lots of numbers here. Okay. So where are we here? We are, what's next? So we're sharing our second year strategic plan data and gearing up for the third year. On August 13th, I shared the highlights and the accomplishments of kind of the holistic strategic plan over the course of the 2 years of the implementation. Now we're in the depths of the data collection and have shared what data that currently exists. We know there are pieces of lagging data to share with the board, and that will come in October. But through this presentation, we offered a success, an area of growth that is being intentionally addressed, and then student outcomes for the board and the community to see. So we are working the strategic plan, and we're working the big 6 data points for year 3 of that strategic plan. And again, I'll be coming back with additional data and our dashboard that we've collected. And then throughout the year, we'll be going into deeper dives into each section of the big 6 data points so that we can go into in-depth understanding there as requested by the board. So excellent. The second 3 for you here. Other questions or comments or concerns that we can address or bring back to the board?
So do I have it right in the on track for graduation? So percent of students who passed all courses attempted in 9th grade. So 35% of the students of 9th graders failed a quarter of their classes because they have 4 classes. So at least one of them, they're failing, 35% of them are failing at least one class in 9th grade.
One class in 9th grade, correct.
Okay.
Yep. And that will come into play in a variety of contexts when we look at a 6-period day,
right,
24 credits necessary to graduate. We cannot be failing any classes.
Right. And then, so as we look at the increase in the 9 through 12 students with the certificates and then job shadow internship, is that leveraging the new graduation pathway at all? Or is that just kind of the push as how do we try and get people kind of more career centric in their high school experience? You know, is that an additional opportunity, or is that actually also, because if you look at 9th graders, I don't know what the 10th grader is, but I'm guessing if 65% doesn't go up to the number of people passing all of their classes.
Right.
So, you know, is this the district's attempt at like, how are we broadening how we're looking at what education looks like in the district? Or is this just an additional opportunity that we're giving students in the district? Does that make sense?
I think I understand your question, and I want to make sure that I'm answering it correctly, because I think that it is both. I think it's an additional opportunity for students, because what we want them to do as they're working through their high school trajectory, we want them to have pieces that add to their resume and add to what they can bring to the world of work. But we also need to provide them with ample opportunities to be successful in other classes as well. So I don't know if I answered that correctly, but I believe we are doing both.
Got it.
Okay.
Because I mean, you look at that, and then you look at 39% of people are mid-grade level in the spring. So when they should be like late grade level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 39% of people that are, you know, we're trying about who's graduating in math. Like, I guess I can guess which class people aren't doing so great in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go back, sorry to go back to 3, but if you're looking at percent of people who can read on grade level, and we're less than 50%, like, what are we doing to try and get kind of these core subjects in front of the priority list? Because I really like to see, I love that the CTE has gotten a big push and is an opportunity to do something that I think, especially for people who are focused in high school on what comes next, they're having a lot of opportunities. But it's really scary to see more than half of our 3rd to 8th graders aren't reading on grade level.
Yes. Yeah.
Because how does that go down the line? Like it doesn't help us.
No, it
So-
doesn't. And that is where we are putting all of our focus and our energy into the work that we're doing, not only with our structured reading, but also with the essential strategies in the early grade levels. And we're expecting those students to be able to capture a different level of reading, not only core instruction, but also intervention, so that when they do move into the middle school years, they're going to have a better understanding and a more comprehensive understanding of the concepts and the standards with regard to both reading and math. Because as we can see, we can improve.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good questions.
Yeah, I have a couple.
Yeah.
Beginning with math. I'm going to talk loosely from impression. The math rework restructuring is a couple of years behind reading. The other impression I have is that in getting to a methodology for structured reading, it is much clearer and well-defined than where we are in math. We're still trying to bring in outside experts and figure out how to handle it. It's got fear and a lot of other things. And so this is really a very general question, but 2 years behind, a tougher challenge. Could you sort of in a short bite describe how you see what we need to do and how difficult it is?
Just in a
How to
quick.
make,
quick
some
nutshell.
progress is another way of doing it.
Yeah, we have done a variety of work in the school district on math, and I go back to the instructional framework that Sarah Wall was working on for a number of years and brought through our district. And some of the work that we're doing right now at the lower grade levels involves very similar routines to the science of reading, but they're math instructional routines. And so making sure that each of our students has access to those math instructional routines, and they're done in a way that help everybody, no matter what language they speak at home, have the access to those math instructional strategies. And those are also being enhanced by the essential strategies as well, and the essential standards. But you said it is hard work. And it is work that we need to be focused on over the next few years so that we can actually see and make progress here on our strategic plan data points.
I'm encouraged when you comment on working in the elementary schools, because when you make a change like that, there are 13 years to work through. And if you can get a grade at comfort in the 3rd, 4th grade, rather than fighting it in 7th, 8th, 9th, you're ahead.
And thank you, Martin. I will also add that the importance that I have layered kind of through this presentation on interventions is huge, because we have time built into our schedules for reading intervention and then a little bit of comprehension as well, but we don't have that time built into our schedules for the math piece. And so it's taking some creativity, it's creating some ingenuity to build those interventions, and we'd like to see those systemically K-12. And it's with new schedules going in at middle school and high school, it's going to take some time this year for us to work through those.
And I have one quick one where I think some of us are waiting to see disaggregated data later on, and I'm not going to ask for an answer on that.
No, we hear you.
And then I think the other one is a very similar fuzzy question. 65% of 9th graders passed all their classes. Do you have any sense of benchmarking either on 5 years ago, non-COVID disrupted, or peer districts around the state? I know we have got up to pretty high levels of successful graduation.
Yes.
At the end, where's that 65 look against a backdrop of experience?
That's a great question. And I would love to bring that information back to the board for you. That would be good for me to do that. Thanks, Martin.
Going back to Martin's questions about the math, have we talked about or looked at measuring differently? Because I know in our workshop, we talked about that 3rd grade might not be giving us the realist data. Now, I don't know how that necessarily translates over to the state data where we continue to be lagging. But if we measured more in second grade and fourth grade when we weren't learning new concepts, could we get ahead of some of the potential learning loss? Is that a better indicator of who is or isn't on track? I just kind of remember that the third grade may, because of the introduction of new concepts, may end up not being the best time. And if there's just any value in looking at other years as indicators or better measurements.
Gotcha. I seem to remember, thank you, Julie. That's a good question. I seem to remember that there were specific, and if Heidi was here tonight, I would throw the no look pass to Heidi on this one. But she is not feeling super well. So, but I believe that there are specific algebra standards that we need to measure in third grade that are indicators of how our students will do later on. But let me check on that, okay? Because we want to make sure that we're hitting the right, that we're measuring the right data points, because we keep track and measure the data in all those grade levels. These just happen to be the ones that are indicators for the Big Six data points. So I appreciate that. Maria, do you have any questions for us or comments?
I'm just listening today.
Oh, well, thank you for listening. We appreciate you being there.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. If there aren't any other questions, I thank you for the time tonight and look forward to bringing back some additional questions that came out of today, and also coming back with the data dashboard and some disaggregated data later as well. So thank you for the time.
So it looks like we just moved right into the
Yes.
superintendent report.
Okay, let me change gears really quick here. So just want to touch base with everyone. The last time that we were together was the night before the first day of school. And so just we have kicked off our school year, as you all know. It's been a great startup. There is I feel like there's still some excitement in the air as we are still in what we might call the honeymoon period for a lot of things. We had our first Monday, which is always a part of every year. We got to have our first Monday. But we also have, in the midst of excitement and in a good school year, there has been some challenges as well. So I thought I would speak to some of the challenges that we've had with our cooling systems throughout a couple of our buildings. As you all know, the Orchard has been one of the bigger concerns. Their air conditioning has been down since July 8th. And at that time, we had to relocate some summer programming to Foothills Middle School. And as you all know, we have some old and aging buildings that have some systems that are barely hanging on. This is one of those situations where parts are extremely hard to find. They're not just sitting on the shelves in places anymore. We have very highly skilled technicians and HVAC specialists. And sometimes this work is just all about controls, and it's all about, HVAC compressors and all of the things. And so just wanted to give a little bit of history. So as the temperatures, we're doing fine in late August when we were hoping to receive the parts for Orchard Middle School. And then as the heat began to kind of climb that first week of school, we ended up realizing we're going to have to do something for our staff and students. And so we had a 3-hour early release on August 30th, September 3rd, and then Wednesday, September 4th after the Labor Day weekend. And then we pulled a small team of people into my office and basically said, we got to fix this and we got to come up with a solution so that students are not losing instructional time. And so I started making phone calls, asking people if they could help us cool down 78,000 square foot middle school with 400 students and 50 staff members. And I got a lot of no's along the way. They're like, no, I don't think we can help you with that. But we also got a yes. And so we were just sitting in this room. The analogy that we used as we're trying to figure this out is what happens when, and this is, they're not apples to apples. These are apples to oranges. But what happens in a fruit packing shed, cold room when their cooling systems go down? There's got to be a way that they keep that fruit and that investment cold. And so our students are not fruit. But we have a precious commodity in our classrooms and in our schools. And so how do we cool them down? So anyway, Axis Air Cooling from Kent, Washington. We talked to them on Tuesday during that think tank meeting in my office, and they were here Wednesday at 2:00. By 8:30, they had units in each of the rooms at Orchard Middle School, and they were cooling that building down. So it was a fantastic effort there. We're hoping with the temperatures decreasing over the next few days that we'll be able to call them back and say, hey, I think we're going to make it through. You can come get your equipment here. That's great. But we'll let you know more about that. So that was a good effort to help cool Orchard. Now, we also have big issues at Wenatchee High School. We have air conditioning compressors that are on the roof at Wenatchee High School that are down. We have some very warm classrooms in our world language departments and in our career and technical education wing. Again, we have old and aging equipment here with systems and controllers that are in flux. Thankfully, at Wenatchee High School, they have been able to shift some of the teaching classrooms and had teachers and students go into different areas that do have some cool areas. But it is, they had some tough times and some very warm classrooms. And yeah, so just sharing that information. We do, I guess the one piece that I want to let everyone know is that we have purchased the necessary components to fix the 3 compressors that are down. And we just have not been able to get them in. They're still coming in. And so unfortunately, we'll probably miss this heat wave before things are fixed, but we'll be ready for the heat to climb in the spring when that happens. I think the other piece here that we add is that we also have a long-term facilities group that is working on not just Band-Aids, but actual long-term fixes and solutions for some of the aging equipment that we have in our school system. So that is work that is happening. That was a lot, sorry. Softball. I'll give you a softball update and then I'll give you a couple other great things. We are slated. This is the great news. We are slated to have an incredible regionally recognized softball athletic facility when this complex is complete. But just like the books and the movie, we have experienced a series of unfortunate events that have set us back from our completion dates. And so I want to take a moment to publicly apologize to our female athletes. Because they are excited about playing on this field. And we want to get them on the field because what I'm finding out is that slow pitch in the fall is a very short season. And so we want to get them out there on the field if we possibly can. So, and get them to play on Eastern Washington's only all-turf field. So we're excited about that. One of the largest setbacks happened earlier in the summer when unbeknownst to anyone who had been contacted, including the city, there was a water main that was discovered underneath the field that had to be changed, rerouted. And if you watch the progress of the softball field, you know that there are these massive water filtration vaults that had to be dug and then filled with filtration, well, basically rocks and gravel, but so anyway, that was one of the bigger issues that happened early on. And here's what I'm also finding out now is that we have a construction meeting every Monday. And so yesterday we talked about the vaults for the electrical and communication conduit will not be available until September 27th. So that was not acceptable to anyone on the construction team meeting yesterday. So they're reaching out to try to find a better fix there. Scoreboard delivery will be October 3rd. So that's an unfortunate timeline. The turf company equipment broke down at the beginning of last week. So the field fill spreader broke down, which has kept them from completing the turf. And so we're hoping to get a fix this week so that they can continue to do that turf fill. The bleacher delivery is one that I'm really not happy about, but the bleacher delivery is scheduled for October 21st. So we're looking for ways that we can do something different with bleachers. The bleachers do give us access to the press box, which will also give, how we can announce the game, but there's other ways to get to a press box. So we're currently working on how do we mitigate not having the bleachers that are specifically designed for the softball complex, how we're going to work that. So we're going to work that. We do have a couple of games coming up. We've got a game on the 24th and we have a game on the 8th of October. And we would like to see our girls play one way or another on the turf for this year. So that's a softball update. Any questions on any of that? That's a lot.
I do.
Thanks, Maria.
So to say I'm highly disappointed is an understatement. I kind of had my hesitations there on the time frame that Rob, is it Rob?
Rob, yes.
Yeah, originally showed us. And so my question is, these all seem to be an order. Well, a lot of them seem to be an order issue. Did the contractor not see this coming? I mean, there's nothing we could do to expedite it, so it's, not really a question, but are there penalties that for not completing the project? I mean, now we're looking a month and a half, 2 months out of the original completion date.
Yeah, absolutely. We are, that's a good question, Maria, and I appreciate that. And I feel what you're saying as well. So there are a variety of change order pieces that we are able to negotiate with both the contractor and with the architect and engineering firm. So there might be some rebates that we can get off of those costs that we had to incur during the time. So that would be where the penalties come in.
So I guess more importantly, what is the backup plan if the field is not playable for slow pitch on their first games of the season? I know in the past, the situation they've been in at Walla Walla hasn't been not acceptable. And so what is there a backup plan in regards to getting them the adequate playing field?
So we had adjusted their schedule based on the building of the softball complex. So their first home game isn't until September 24th. And so we were hoping that we would be ready to go then. Their next home game is October 8th. And then they have an away game October 10th, and that's the end of their season. So we'll be looking at triangulating on the October 8th date to see if we can or make sure that we can get them playing on the field.
Okay. I guess what I would like to I mean, again, the hope is that they are able to play on the field, but let's have I just going back to how it used to be with softball and having the girls set up their own fencing and all that. Let's have a plan B for that.
Absolutely. We are looking into our plan B for September 24th. I believe our athletic director is working on that as we're meeting.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Maria. I appreciate the questions.
Quick follow-up to Maria's point. So because of these change orders and delays that are likely outside the contractor's fault, I assume we're not in a liquidated damages type penalty arena where we could say you failed to substantially complete by a particular date. So we start accruing damages owed to the district for every day after that. I assume there's.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Something to look into, but I'm guessing they're going to say because it's delivery or something,
Okay.
not our fault, that there's an excuse. But typically I would assume this contract has something like liquidated damages for days not completed after substantial completion was supposed to occur.
Those are some big words, Julie. I like that. That's good. Oh my gosh. Yes, I will actually, I have a phone call into Rob tomorrow, so I'll see if I can repeat those.
Okay.
No, thank you. Okay. I like it. And just a couple of things, Julie, you'll probably mention this as well because you did before, but we do have our sports spectacular tomorrow night at 6 o'clock in the Apple Bowl. I'm excited for that. So we encourage everyone to come out. And then I just wanted to throw that we did have tryouts. Last night were tryouts for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the district musical. We had 86 elementary students try out. And then tonight is middle school and then tomorrow night's high school. So just excited about that. And that's my superintendent's report. Thank you.
Is there any board communication? Start on that side.
I was gonna give a shout out to all the people who are maintaining the HVAC system and living with the the HVAC system. I know it's really hot, and being inside with a lot of students trying to figure out how to learn or teach is really hard. So thank you for continuing to work on that, and hopefully we can get this going soon for the high school, since this seems to be a continuous and ongoing issue. It's probably a different ACE unit every time, but it seems like this is the same problem we have. So facilities committee, I will be there on the 9th of October. So hopefully we can figure something out. And then Fiestas Mexicanas, Friday and Saturday. Add that.
I almost forgot, actually, this morning, this room was so full that if you arrived late, you had to fetch a chair and sit behind the speakers for the interagency's first meeting of the year. So the district had all of the family advocates and other people along that wall, and all sorts of social service organizations regionally, not just in Wenatchee. Also, the assistant superintendent was from Eastmont was there, so the two school districts were also focused on everything that we can connect for families and students to make use of social services. And it was kind of weird because everybody was laughing and happy and the room was fuller than I've ever seen it before.
Yeah, I don't have much. Just thank you for everyone, your patience with the HVAC systems. I know it's not ideal. It'd be wonderful that, like the CTE that's getting these grants for capital improvements, that the state would start taking stock in some of our just general building issues, since it seems virtually impossible to get bonds or anything through. So I know we're hamstrung and we're doing the best with what we can, but I appreciate, the trying not to miss school days and everyone kind of bearing with everybody. And hopefully now as the fall rolls in, we'll get some solutions before the spring. You already mentioned the spring sports spectacular. So everyone district-wide bring and friends of the district and everyone with kiddos that may or may not be interested in athletics, come out to the Apple Bowl tomorrow at 6 to 8 p.m. The high school athletes will be out there helping facilitate, but it's really meaning to get younger families and kids engaged with sports in the community and see what all is out there, so that you can have exposure before you get into schools and start building relationships and friendships that way. So be there if you can. And that is all I've got. Well, hearing nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting.